Okay, so good day to all of you. So we are already in the seventh chapter of the systems analysis and design, and this chapter is all about development strategies. So let's start of what are we going to learn in this chapter. So the chapter objectives for this chapter 7 is describe the concept of software as a service, and then define Web 2.0 and cloud computing. Explain software acquisition alternatives, including traditional and web-based software development strategies. And next is describe software outsourcing options, including offshore outsourcing and the role of service providers. And then explain the advantages and disadvantages of in-house software development. Explain cost-benefit analysis and financial analysis tools. And explain the differences between a request for proposal or RFP and a request for quotation or RFQ. Describe the system requirements document. Explain the transition from systems analysis to systems design and the importance of prototyping. Discuss the guidelines for systems design, and last but not the least is describe software development trends. So for the chapter's introduction, so chapter 7 describes the remaining activities in the systems analysis phase. So this chapter also describes the transition to systems design, prototyping, and systems design guidelines. And then the chapter concludes with a discussion of trends in software development. So for development strategies overview, so selecting the best development path is an important decision that requires companies to consider three key topics. So what are these three key topics? Is we have the impact of the internet, we have the software outsourcing options, and then we also have in-house software development alternatives. So let's deal with the first key topic, which is the impact of the internet. So because of the internet, we have this so-called software as a service or the SaaS. So 25% of all new business software will be deployed as a service by 2011, while the value of the SaaS industry will grow to $40 billion. So what is the software as a service? So software as a service, in differentiating the traditional software application. So most of us, especially if you have computers, for example, if you want to have a photo editing software, you need to install an application for that in your computer. So that's the traditional software. So because of the internet, there is an evolution with regards to using software not just locally installed in your computer, but it can also be used online. So this is the concept of software as a service. Okay, let's go back with our photo editor. Now, instead of installing the photo editing software in your computer, you can edit images. You can, of course, images, photos, by just accessing the the company that provides the photo editing features online. So that is software as a service. So the key concept for that is you don't need to install a certain particular software. For example, you don't have to bring always your laptop so that you can edit this, for example, your pictures. You can do so online. So the advantage is you do not need physically a computer. You just need an internet connection. You can also edit using your mobile phone if it is a smartphone, of course. The only drawback is that I can think of for software as a service is first, of course, you need an internet connection in order to avail of the services. And another one, let's go back again, specifically for the photo editing software. Um, Unlike the photo editing software that you are installing in your computer, this traditional software have more features compared to the online. So, for example, photo editing is more of cropping, autocolor, auto contrast. So there are these are basic. if you're compared to the traditional software, maybe because of the bandwidth that it will use if you're going to incorporate all the features. So that is the drawback. But then because of course, the evolution and the bandwidth of the internet is getting bigger, later on, almost all of the features that are available in the traditional software will also be available in the SaaS. So aside from photo editing software, you can consider SaaS, such as Google Docs, where you can edit your documents, where you can also edit um, your uh, slideshow presentations, your spreadsheets, even you do not have an uninstalled Office Productivity Suite in your computer. And the good thing is that for SaaS, there is a collaboration. You can edit simultaneously the document, again, as long as you have the internet. That is the requirement for software as a service. You have to have an internet connection in order for you to avail of the service that is that the where the company is providing the SaaS or software as a service. Okay, we have the traditional versus web-based systems development. So we have this traditional development. System design is influenced by compatibility issues. Yes, of course, because traditional development, these information systems are made, for example, in a company. It solves a particular problem or issue that the company or a department has encountered. And then, of course, you're going to develop a software depending on the specifications of your computer that is installed or that is used in your company. So first and foremost, the systems design is always influenced by the compatibility issues. So next is systems are designed to run on local and wide area company networks. So since this is for the company, it does not need to, for example, specifically if your company has only one branch, it does not require an extensive internet or internet framework for that. But example, if you have branches, you just need a wide area company network, if you have few branches in your of your company. And then systems often utilize internet links and resources, but web-based features are treated as enhancements rather than core elements of the design. Since traditional development is more of installing the information systems in a company, so making it online, it's just an enhanced feature, specifically if the process does not require any online transaction, it's just internal. So using internet or interconnection or network, it is just used, for example, for transferring documents and the like. So it is never a priority that, oh, we need to have an information system that is web based. So that is the traditional development. So for web based development, systems are developed and delivered in an internet based framework such as .NET or WebSphere. So the primary purpose of web-based system, of course, they must be able to run in a internet browser, and then they are used in an internet. They delivered in an internet-based framework, .NET or WebSphere. But aside from .NET and WebSphere, there are other internet-based frameworks that are useful and popular today. And then although there is a major trend toward web-based architecture, many firms rely on traditional systems. Specifically, again, if your company, for example, this information system is only used inside the company, they will not concern anymore to use it as a web-based. And the company is only using web-based development if they are transacting or they have a interaction with the clients. So looking to the future, so Web 2.0 and cloud computing. So the Web 2.0 platform will enhance interactive experiences, including wikis and blogs and social networking applications. Actually, that is the characteristic of Web 2.0. It is the interaction. While Web 1.0, it's just the static. For example, you're going to search for text, search for an article. So that is the composition of Web 1.0 without any interaction with the user. But because of the development of Web 2.0 platform, because of the interaction, you can comment on the posts of your friends in a social networking platform. So that is already an example of Web 2.0. And then cloud computing could bring enormous computing power to business and personal internet users, because by means of cloud computing, instead of you're going to install your software in your computer, by means of cloud computing, you can already process certain documents, or you can be more productive, even you are if you do not have an internet, just you have a device where you can work, for example, your documents, example, Google Docs. So you're editing in the Google Docs interface. You do not need to install an offline if there is offline version of the Google Docs. And then the good thing with that is you can also edit simultaneously, for example, in Google Docs. Okay, next is we have outsourcing. So this is another key topic. So the growth of outsourcing. So a firm that offers outsourcing solutions is called a service provider. So why is there a growth of outsourcing? The one reason is that, example, you are a furniture company, and then you want to showcase your products to the client. You want to have an information system for that, or a website for that. Are you going to call one of your carpenters to okay, come here, and then please sit in front of the computer, study how to create a web design or an information system? Will it work? Of course not. So if your company does not have an in-house IT department, it's very useful for you to provide, or to get a service provider for example, for your information system or for your website. So we have application service providers, of course. They provide the software that you will need for your business process, or for, of course, for your company. And then we also have this Internet Business Services, or IBS. These are also called managed hosting. So instead that you're going to procure your own servers, this IBS can um, can make you use their servers, of course, by means of they have fees for that. So you can store your files, and they're the ones who's going to manage the server. Of course, servers are very expensive. Okay, we have outsourcing fees, of course. So we have this first. A fixed fee model uses a set fee based on a specified level of service and user support. So that's the fixed fee. We also have a subscription model, has a variable fee based on the number of users or workstations that have access to the application. So of course, fixed fee, you will pay this, of course, this certain amount, disregarding, of course, of how you're going to use the service. While subscription model, of course, it is specified here, it has a variable fee. So it depends upon the number of users or workstation that have access to the application. So the higher the number of users or workstations, of course, the the higher the subscription fees for outsourcing. And then we also have a usage model or transaction model, charges a variable fee based on the volume of transactions or operations performed by the application. So usage model or transaction fee, it depends upon the volume of transactions or operations performed by the application. So what are the outsourcing issues and concerns? So mission critical IT systems should be outsourced only. So there is a condition since mission critical system means mission critical IT systems. This plays an important role. Without it, your company or your business will be at a loss. So if the result is, of course, uh, cost attractive, reliable, business solution that fits the company's long-term business strategy. Of course, you have to think if we're going to outsource it and we will save a lot of money, then go for it. And if it is more reliable, then go for it. So outsourcing also can affect day-to-day company operations and can raise some concerns. Of course, the service providers who will provide, of course, the service for outsourcing, they're still considered as third party. They are not part of your company. So you should know how to deal with those um, third party companies. Of course, they have their own rules for their human resource, and you also have rules for your own human resource team. You need to talk about it with regards to the rules that you follow with regards to your human capital. Okay, we have this offshore outsourcing. So offshore outsourcing is global outsourcing. So actually you have the two types. So if you have offshore, you have this also called the inshore, quote unquote, meaning you are getting the services by a company. If it is inshore, yeah, it's not it's just limited in a geographical location. For example, here in the Philippines, again, let's go back to the example. If you have a furniture company and then the services that provides, for example, of an information system or a web-based information system is also based in the Philippines. So that is already called inshore outsourcing. While offshore outsourcing, so the company that you will be getting or you're acquiring services is from another country. Actually, outsourcing is not new, especially in the Philippines. Maybe it's relatively new in the IT industry, but in other fields, it's not already quite old, but it is already being done. Example, here in the Philippines, in an animation industry, there is a very famous Japanese animation company. They have a office here in the Philippines. The animations are done there. It is actually a popular anime of the that started in the 90s. So I'm still young back then. Then we went there for a educational trip, and then they told us that the office that is based here in the Philippines by connected to the mother company in Japan, they're the ones who animated that very popular um, anime. So I asked them because I knew how at least to read kanji and hiragana and the like. So I asked them. So as far as I can remember, when I'm watching anime when in the time of the 90s, I did not see a name. For example, since Filipino names sounds like Spanish, why am I seeing in the credits for the animation they're still written in kanji? So the the head there in that popular animation company based here in the Philippines, he told us that they used their corresponding Japanese names at that time. Maybe because maybe it's just my opinion that the Japanese animation company does not want their company that they're outsourcing talents from the Philippines. So actually there is a news in a popular television network that this popular animation is anime the animators are Filipinos. First I do not believe because of course when I see the credits of that animation of that anime is they don't have names of Filipino animators. But then of course when I already talked to one of the people inside that animation company, then I was already convinced that they just mask their real names using their corresponding Japanese names. So by that, that is already an example that outsourcing is not new here in the Philippines. So let's continue our discussion. So many firms are sending IT work overseas at an increasing rate. So the main reason for offshore outsourcing, why are they doing this? Why don't they employ their own, for example, in Japan, Japanese animators, or in the US, um, their uh, their countrymen for this job? So it is the same as domestic outsourcing, lower bottom line costs. So, for example, an employee in the US, the regular or the particular or a regular employee, for example, every month, he or she has a salary of $1,000. For example, for a customer service representative as a CSR in a call center, for example, 1,000. So it is roughly equivalent here in the Philippines, which is 50,000. So, why is there a lower bottom line costs? Because here in the Philippines, actually, I'm not sure. Maybe the price or the salary of a CSR in a call center here in the Philippines will only cost half of the CSR if they're going to employ their own, for example, in the US. So it is lower. The company will save lots of more of their money if they're going to outsource. And then offshore outsourcing, however, involves some unique risks and concerns. As I've said, the first concern is there's still third-party companies. What if you're going to outsource a mission critical? There is a very confidential information that you're going to give them. So, of course, you need to have this non-disclosure agreement that anything that will happen, the data will be protected. It will not be disclosed to any third-party companies. They should have this agreement since service providers are still considered as third-party companies and not actually part of the certain company. Okay, next is we have, aside from outsourcing, is we have this in-house software development options. So it's either make or buy decision. So in-house, it means that you have an IT department in your company. So for make or buy, are you going to make your own software or are you going to buy a software from the vendor? So the choice between developing versus purchasing software often is called a make or buy or build or buy decision. So the company's IT department makes, builds, and develops in-house software. And then a software package is obtained from a vendor or application service provider. So if you're going to decide what if you're going to develop your software in-house, so these are the advantages of building it by using your IT department. This software development satisfy unique business requirements. Why? That is the purpose of your information system. You're going to solve a particular problem that is encountered inside your company or an office that needs to be resolved. So the solution for that is creating an information system. So that's why it has a unique business requirement. Next is minimize changes in business procedures and policies because, of course, your information system will always will be aligned in your business procedures and policies. And then also meet constraints of existing systems because the IT department, they are in-house, of course, they know the problems of the existing system. They can easily identify the problems that need to be solved and then also meet constraints of existing technology. Uh, of course, you're going to develop a system, you have to consider the specifications or hardware and the specifications of your computer that will be used by the information for the information system. And then also develop internal resources and capabilities. So with regards to internal resources and also the capabilities of your IT department. And another is you will have uh, a unique setup for your information systems. Okay, what if you're not going to develop a software, instead you're going to purchase a software package? So these are the advantages. Of course, lower costs and requires less time to implement because the software or the minimum hardware specifications of a software package is standardized, and then proven reliability and performance benchmarks, of course, because these are software packages. This is already tested by benchmark software, so you are already sure that it is reliable and it is functioning well. And then requires less technical development staff because, of course, it's a software package. It's one of its purpose is develop a more standardized solution and easier to understand and implement. Future upgrades provided by the vendor, of course. You need to have future upgrades because software packages, it's not 100% perfect. There are also still security issues, security loopholes. Then software vendor will provide these patches or upgrades. And then input from other companies. So software package, because of the feedback of other companies who use that software package, it is more it will be a more improved and a better solution because of the feedbacks that it will receive from users from other companies. Okay, aside from you're going to develop, you're going to buy a software package, you can also customize a software package. So you can purchase a basic package that vendors will customize to suit your needs. So you're going to buy, but you're going to add features that is needed by your company. Number two, you can negotiate directly with a software vendor to make enhancements to meet your needs by paying for the charges. Of course, if you want additional features for your information systems that you have bought from a vendor, you will need to pay additional fees for that. And then number three, you can purchase the package and make your own modifications. Of course, you can do that as long as this is permissible under the terms of the software license. Because if your software package is proprietary, meaning you are buying the you're not really buying the software. You're just buying its software license. You're licensed to use the software. So, but again, but it depends upon your software license that if it is stated that you can modify the software any way you want, and then the vendor has provided you with the source code, then you can do so. But then again, if not, well, of course, um, it's not easy, or it's not advisable that you're going to modify it without the permission, or it's not stated in the terms of the software license. Okay, next is creating user applications. So of course, you need to have a user applications that is familiar for your end users. So this user applications is composed, of course, of user interfaces. We also have help desk or information center. So your information system, it is very important that you have a help desk or information center or a help. And then we also have, of course, screen generators. This is an example of already of a screen generator. And then it also has to have a report generators. And then, of course, user application must have a read-only properties. Okay, so amidst these development strategies, what is the role of the systems analyst? So when selecting hardware and software, systems analysts often work as an evaluation and selection team. The primary objective of the evaluation and selection team is to eliminate system alternatives that will not meet requirements, rank the system alternatives that are feasible, and present the viable alternatives to management for a final decision. Okay, next is you've already decided what development strategy that you're going to do. We also have to analyze the cost and benefits. So we have this financial analysis tools. So we have this payback analysis. So payback analysis means that how long will it take before, for example, you've spent 50,000, and then how long will that 50,000 be returned? For example, if your company is doing well, how many months will that you're going to get that 50,000 again that you've spent for the information system. And then we also have this ROI, or return on investment. So ROI, the definition, is a profitability ratio that measures how well your investments perform. And then, in other words, ROI lets you know the money you will shell out for your business, and then is the money that you'll shell out for your business is flowing back in as revenue. So that is the return on investment. And then what is this net present value? So net present value is the present value of the cash flows at the required rate of return of your project compared to your initial investment. So actually, net present value, or NPV, um, this is the way of how are you going to calculate your ROI. So we should have a cost-benefit analysis checklist. So first is list each development strategy being considered. Next is identify all costs and benefits for each alternative. Be sure to indicate when costs will be incurred and benefits realized. Next is consider future growth and the need for scalability. Include support costs for hardware and software. And then next is analyze various software licensing options, including fixed fees and formulas based on the number of users or transactions. So we have this, of course, the fixed fee, the usage model, and subscription model. And then apply the financial analysis tools to each alternative, study the results, and prepare a report to management. Okay, so next is we have the software acquisition process. So this is the first step. Evaluate the information system requirements. So for evaluating the IS requirements, you have to identify the key features. Consider network and web-related issues. For example, if your information system would be web-based or traditional, but it needs a network or internet. And then next is estimate volume and future growth, and specify hardware, software, or personnel constraints. And then prepare a request for proposal or quotation. Step 2. Identify potential vendors or outsourcing options. So the internet is a primary marketplace. There are service providers who will provide services that is needed. That is needed by your company. You need to search for that. And another approach is to work with a consulting firm. If your company is already a consulting firm, you can ask them for assistance. And another valuable resource is the Internet Bulletin Board system that contains thousands of forums called newsgroups. And then step number 3 is evaluate the alternatives. So the alternatives, you have to consider the existing users. You must include them because they're the ones who's going to use the information system. And then we also have this application testing. We need to test each alternatives, which is better. And then you have to have also benchmarking. So which of the alternatives are the best? And then match each package against the RFP, or the request for proposal features, and rank the choices. So which of the alternatives is aligned with your RFP features. And then step number 4, perform cost-benefit analysis. Identify and calculate TCO for each option you are considering. So TCO is total cost of ownership. And then when you purchase software, what you are buying is a software license. I've already mentioned that a while ago. And then if you purchase a software package, consider a supplemental maintenance agreement. If you're going to purchase a software package, your relationship with the vendor doesn't end there. They should have this help desk that, for example, if you're going to encounter a problem, they're ready to assist you. Not just, for example, you already bought their software and your vendor is nowhere to be found if there are any problems or bugs in their software package. And then next is step 5, prepare a recommendation. So you should prepare a recommendation that evaluates and describes the alternatives together with the costs, benefits, advantages, and disadvantages of each option. So at this point, you may be required to submit a formal system requirements document and deliver a presentation. And then step 6, implement the solution. So implementation tasks will depend on the solution selected, of course. Before the new software becomes operational, you must complete all implementation steps such as loading, configuring, and testing the software. Of course, maybe your software package is working. Example, it is demonstrated by the vendor working on their computers, but when it is installed on your local computers and there is a problem, so you need to test the software using your hardware available in the company. Of course, you need to train your users specifically if the software is new, the interface is new. But then, as much as possible, for training users, you have to consider the ease of use. If they are familiar with the old system, as much as possible, make the interface just the same as the old system. So the information system does not have a steep learning curve of using it, and converting data files to the new system's format. Okay. Once you've done that, you already completed the systems analysis task. So by the end of systems analysis task, you will have a system requirements document. So the system requirements document or software requirements specification contains the requirements for the new system, describes the alternatives that were considered, and makes a specific recommendation to management. It is like a contract. So format and organize it so it is easy to read and use. Again, do not use highly technical jargon or highfalutin words. Just make it easier to read and understand by uh, people of different specializations. Okay, next is we have to have a presentation to the management. So summarize the primary viable alternatives. Explain why the evaluation and selection team chose the recommended alternative. You have to justify it. Why did you choose that alternative? And then allow time for discussion and for questions and answers, and obtain a final decision from management or agree on a timetable for the next step in the process. And then depending on their decision, of course, it is also always their decision if you're going to continue or not. Your next task as a systems analyst will be one of the following. So these are the possible options that you're going to make after you presented to management. Implement an outsourcing alternative. If, for example, if they can see that it is cost attractive, so implement an outsourcing alternative or develop an in-house system. Again, if you have an IT department in your company and it will cost the company less. And then purchase or customize a software package the if the decision is for number 3. And then perform additional systems analysis work. What if your management is not yet convinced of your presentation? So you will need to have additional input for your systems analysis work. And this is the worst case that can happen, is stop all further work. So I hope number 5 will not happen. Okay, next is the transition to systems design. So preparing for systems design tasks, it is essential to have an accurate and understandable systems requirements document for you to proceed to systems design. So we have the logical and physical design. The logical design defines the functions and features of the system and the relationships among its components. And then the physical design of an information system is planned for the actual implementation of the system. So, but since chapter 7 is still the systems is included in the systems analysis phase, but let's have an overview for the systems design, the next phase. So what is the overview for systems design? So a system is effective if it supports business requirements and meets user needs. Of course, if it solves the particular problem, and of course, it is meeting the needs of the users. So a system is reliable if it handles input errors. If it can, example, there's an input error, it can detect and then it can also correct. And then processing errors, hardware failures, or human mistakes. So they can recover from hardware failures or human mistakes. A system is maintainable if it is flexible, scalable, meaning you can add features, and then it can easily be modified. So first is we have user considerations for systems design. Carefully consider any point where users receive output from or provide input. And then anticipate future needs. So we have this Y2K issue or year 2000 issue. So what is this Y2K issue? So if you're not familiar with the Y2K issue, so for example, this Y2K issue has prevailed in older computers. So example, what if the Y2K issues concern is sprung with this for date format. So the date format of old computer is, for example, we have month and then day, okay, and then we have year. So two digits for month, two digits for day, and two digits for year. Example, last year of 1999, example, we have this one. So this is the date. We have December 31, 1999. Okay, so where will this issue was derived rather? So, since this is December 31, 1999, so meaning 1999 here is the 1999. What if, for example, New Year, we have 01, 01, 00. So, this is the problem. That is why there is a the Y2K issue. Since the year is only two digits, so meaning since actually this is the, January 1, 2000, for a computer, this will be converted as what? Since 1999 and then 00, you will going to record 1900. So that is the problem with the Y2K. Actually, it will be a problem for banks because of course, the year is already 1999. But since we are in a um, new millennium, so we have, it should be 2000. But of course, since it's only two digits for the year, it will become 1900. So, the problem is solved before the year 2000. As what is the solution for it? They included additional two digits for the year, additional two. So that's why we have four. So it can display, of course, the year properly. So even it's 3020, 1999. So I don't know if we're going to reach that year, the year 1999. I don't know. And then another, so this is of course for the Y2K issue, and provide flexibility. And then for users, for example, the user should have a clue of the input that they're going to encode. So we have the parameter and the default. So that's why users can avoid committing mistakes. Okay, we have data considerations. Enter data as soon as possible. So it will be significant and relevant. Verify data as it is entered. So for example, in a slideshow or rather in a spreadsheet, so there is a data validation that you can already identify. For example, age. Since age is a number, you cannot input letters. So if you're going to input a letter, there should be a feedback that there is a mistake with regards to age. Why did you put a letter? It should be a number. And then use automated methods of data entry whenever possible. Because if you're going to encode it by using, of course, the users, of course, to err is human. So we are naturally committing mistakes whether we like it or not. So it's better to use, for example, this one in the illustration, we have a barcode scanner, or the more popular now is we have the QR or the quick response. So it's easier. You will avoid or you will lessen errors if you're going to use automated methods such as barcode scanning and using QR codes. So another data considerations, control data entry access and report all entries or changes to critical values. So you need to have an audit trail. So you need to have a control who will be the ones who's accessing, who has the authority to access the system and edit. And then there should have a log. So that's why we have this audit trail. So if there is a discrepancy, if there is an error, you can trace it. Who is the person accountable for this for this change, or if there is any discrepancies with the data. And then log every instance of data entry and changes. And then of course enter data once in order to avoid data duplication. So for architecture considerations is you have to use a modular design. So modular design is easier because you don't need to concern a particular, for example, a particular or specific code. If it is already modular design, the important thing here is it's easier to implement. And then design modules that perform a single function are easier to understand, implement, and maintain. So the design trade-offs for systems design. So design goals often conflict with each other. So most design trade-off decisions that you will face come down to the basic conflict of quality versus cost. Of course, if you want to have high quality, of course you need to pay more for a higher quality. And then if you want a lower cost, do not expect that it will be a high quality. So you have to balance it. You should have a trade-off. And then avoid decisions that achieve short-term savings but might mean higher costs later. For example, not just here in an IT perspective. Example, if you have rubber shoes, and then you buy a cheap rubber shoes, for example, 100 pesos, and then it's not very durable, and you need to, since it is cheap, you're always changing rubber shoes, for example, it's a month, and then instead of, example, every month for 12 months, so 100 pesos times 12, you have 1,200. What if you buy an expensive shoes, for example, a rubber shoes, and then it can be used for more than a year. So for example, it's um 1,200. So this is the meaning of this last sentence, that you have to think, yes, it's cheaper, but you're frequently changing it, or you're frequently buying it again instead of buying it again, and then it's just the same cost with an expensive product. Why not buy the product that will ensure that it is high quality and it is durable? Okay, next is we have prototyping. So for the systems design method. So what are the prototyping methods? Of course, is we have the system prototyping. You're going to have a mock-up model for your system. We also have the design prototyping. And then we have a throwaway prototyping. By the word itself, throwaway meaning you're going to create a mock-up and then you're not going to use it as a base for your actual implementation of your information system. And then prototyping offers many benefits. Uh, One of the benefits is you will have a feedback from your end users. You can modify it depending on their preferences. And then the stakeholders already have an idea of how will the information system works. And then we also have potential problems with regards to prototyping. So, such as, for example, since it is a prototype, sometimes there are cases that the system that will be developed is not of a high quality. So you have to balance again the benefits and the advantages and disadvantages of using prototypes. So prototyping tools is we have case tools, we can use that, application generators, report generators, screen generators, fourth generation language or 4GL, and fourth generation environment. So the limitations of prototypes. So a prototype is a functioning system, but it is less efficient than a fully developed system. So that is why the certain problems for prototyping. It is functional, but it's not as efficient as a fully developed system. So systems developers can upgrade the prototype into the final information system by adding the necessary capability. So, but if will not meet or you have other plans for your information system, the prototype is discarded. And then the software development trends. So what are the views from the IT community? So software quality will be more important than ever. And project management will be a major focus of IT managers. Since, of course, since software development is not done individually, but it is done with the collaborations of programming team, of all the stakeholders and systems analysts in the company. And then we also have this service-oriented architecture or SOA. Is we have this loose coupling. So for SOA is we have to empower decision makers, align IT with business operations, increase operational efficiency, and employ best practice methodology. And then another is there is a growth in open source software, of course. Open source software is free. You can acquire it for free and even source code. Um, it's also there are open source software that is almost the same quality or at par with a proprietary software. And developers will use more web services since nowadays people are relying more on the internet and they're buying online. All the transactions mostly are done online. And programmers will continue to use dynamic languages. So for chapter summary, so this chapter describes systems development strategies, the preparation and presentation of the system requirements document, and the transition to the systems design phase of the SDLC. An important trend that views software as a service rather than a product has created new software acquisition options. Systems analysts must consider web-based development environments. The systems analyst's role in the software development process depends on the specific development strategy. The most important factor in choosing a development strategy is the total cost of ownership or TCO. The process of acquiring software involves a series of steps, and a prototype is a working model of the proposed system. Okay, so we are finished with chapter 7. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And if you do not have any questions, thank you very much for listening. I hope that you've learned something from chapter 7. And please don't forget to like my YouTube channel. And I hope that everyone will be safe. So thank you very much and good day.